Welcome to Life After Sports podcast with your host, Kevin Johnson. We have a special guest tonight. This is our episode 28. We have former MLB player and call him that he's a health coach as well as a personal trainer. I like to call him AKA the squat doctor.
Oh, that's it.
Well, we like to say, man, thank you, Carlos Alonso, for being on our show tonight, man.
Hey, man, thank you for having me. It's a pleasure being here.
Absolutely, absolutely. So, man, appreciate you again getting on our show. Life after sports, we talk about the transition of different players, what they're doing now, what their in career and what their post career has been, and pretty much just adding value and sharing your perspective on your career so that we can be able to help the next and upcoming professional athletes that's coming through. So with that being said, man, I'm just going to go ahead and jump into the theme. The theme for tonight is called Reinventing Yourself. And I think that theme describes you to the T in regards to just career. And I think we all go through a period in our life where we're reinventing who we are as an individual, no matter the title that we may hold along the way.
Yeah, no, 100%. And, especially for an athlete that, a lot of these guys and myself included believe that, I may be playing baseball for the rest of my life. And then, the reality sets in one day and then you got to reinvent yourself. So,
Yeah.
That's what you got to do.
No, absolutely. Absolutely. So let's talk a little bit about you, man. Let's dive right in. So talk a little bit about your journey, where it all began in your childhood.
Yeah. So, I grew up in California. I had two brothers. Some people know my brother is Kiko Alonso. He's in the NFL. He's a free agent right now. We, always been a sports family, always played every sport, you name it. I played baseball, football, wrestling, soccer, volleyball. I did it all. Um, and, I was more of a natural football player and that was probably my best sport, but I didn't have the size that my brother did. My brother's like 6'4", and, I just made a decision in high school that I was going to try to go for baseball. So,
Yeah.
I was a pretty good baseball player, but I had a lot of work to do to develop to become, a better baseball player. And, that kind of took me on the journey that I ended up taking.
Yeah. Okay. So what age would you say, if you had to break it down, what age did you fall in love with sports?
I think it was young. I think it was young. I remember loving, I was on travel ball teams when I was 10 years old, and I remember loving just traveling, playing games, hanging out with my buddies, and just competing. So I think it was just something in my blood that I loved to do. So I think probably as young as 10 or 11 or 12 years old.
Okay. Okay. So outside of sports, and I love asking this question because, a lot of times people are watching and they're like, okay, we know the shows, it's talking about the life after sports, talking about guys who played professionally, who play currently right now, or people who are involved in the sports industry. But what are your hobbies outside of sports? People would like to know.
Yeah, so outside of sports, I like a lot of things outdoors. I like
Yeah.
to just go to the beach. I like to skateboard. I like to I appreciate good nice meals and just good food
Yeah.
and hanging out with friends. So
Okay.
that's really it.
Okay. Okay. So let's talk about your experience, from that transition from high school to college.
Yeah.
Explain to me, a lot of times, a lot of players know in their mind when they know that, hey, man, this is an opportunity that I may be able to, have a chance in the pros
Yeah.
at some particular opportunity. So when did that transpire for you in high school? And then talk a little bit about your college experience.
Yeah, so in high school, my goal was always okay, I want to play in college. That's my number one goal. I want to play at a D1 school. I want to just I want somebody to just give me the opportunity to play, and I didn't care where it was.
Yeah.
So initially, I didn't get recruited out of high school. I went to a JUCO, so like a 2-year school,
Okay.
and I kind of honed my skills there, but I was kind of on a mission, so I knew when you do that, it's easy to get distracted. But I had kind of set out my plan that was my goal. I wanted to go to a Division I school to try to get an opportunity to play baseball there, and just I wanted to compete with the best. I always kind of had that competitor in me. So I went to a 2-year school because that's all the opportunities that I got.
And that was in California?
That was in California. So I was I was competing in San Jose, California. Went to a 2-year school in Santa Barbara, which is 4 hours away. I went 4 hours away because I did want to go away from home and kind of get a college experience. Went to Santa Barbara, had a great coach, had a great staff. We were one of the top teams in Santa Barbara.
Wow.
We were one of the top 2-year schools in all of California.
Wow.
And that doesn't, like, for some people that don't, like, know JUCO and 2-year schools, we would beat almost any other Division I school because California, that's baseball there is like the real deal. And there's
on a whole other level.
A whole nother level. So, I was already playing with the best there, and I wanted to, I wanted to see where it could take me. But nobody in California came calling, and I had pretty good years in Santa Barbara, but nobody still thought I was good enough to be on their team. So a school all the way on the East Coast called University of Delaware calls me and says, hey, they're going to give me a scholarship. And I was like, you know what? I'm going to pack my bags. I don't know anybody over there, but I'm going to just follow this baseball journey.
Hey, sometimes you just got to take those opportunities, man. Our previous interview, the interview that I had last week was with this professional athlete. He plays overseas basketball for 14 years. He's still currently playing.
Wow.
Started out in JUCO, went JUCO.
Wow.
And crazy, I've known him since I was in junior college when I went to Broward College and played basketball. And when I say, man, people don't understand when you go to a junior college, I think, and you said it a little bit, their initial thought, oh, it's a 2-year school. You don't understand. A lot of people who go to a 2-year school, they're Division I players. They just either they're two out of three things. Either they got overlooked, right? Didn't have enough film, or their grades, or they're so good that their grades weren't able to get them into the Division I school, and so they need to take a little bit of time to get that stuff, together. So, that the people, initial thought about junior college, I'm like, look, a lot of talent is there. Trust and believe. A lot of people who are playing professional went junior college route.
Yeah, absolutely, dude. That's so true. That's so true. Anyway, I just want to say what's up to my dad and Max.
Okay.
And Zorn, Ashley, and Alejandro Villalobos. I want to say hi to everybody. I just saw you guys tune in. And Gabby.
Got the whole family in there, man. That's what's up, man. Support. So talking about that, man, your college experience, from college experience, we're going to go a little bit more into your career, man. So how was your experience, being a professional baseball player? Like, talk about that journey and the things you learned from that.
Yeah, man. So my journey wasn't always, I didn't always have like the easiest path. I was doubted the whole way through.
Yeah.
And I honestly wouldn't have had it any other way because it really helped shape me when I got to the minor league. So I went to Delaware, had another 2 good years, and then got drafted, and I was drafted, but I was a senior sign. So what happens when you're a senior sign in minor league baseball is the team doesn't necessarily have a lot of stock with you. So they're not giving you a big signing bonus. They're more just like, hey, come out. We'll give you a plane flight. Come, we'll let you try out with all these other guys that we, gave millions of dollars to, right?
Wow.
To come out. And there's 50 rounds of baseball. So, people get recycled every year. It's 50 new guys, and then 5 or so stay, then another 50. 5 or so stay, then another 50. Every year. So
is this 50 rounds or 50 players?
50 players. 50 players every year are drafted. 50 rounds. So 50 players for each 32 teams are drafted.
Got you. Okay.
So a lot of people are drafted, but a lot of people don't stick around. A lot of people play a couple years and don't make it too long. But I had, I went to you go to rookie ball your first year, and there's a couple guys playing in second, third base. Like, I was a third baseman. I had 2 other guys playing there. And basically the coach was like, hey, I'm gonna lay it to you flat out. Like, one of the 3 of you, or only one of the 3 of you, are going to be here next year. The other 2 are going to be sitting at home. I'm going to tell you straight up. And you play with that pressure every time you play. But it's about learning on how to play with that pressure and managing it, and then using it to fuel you to keep growing and becoming a better player. So
yeah. Man, and well, first of all, you go into junior college, you understand the pressure at hand, because the junior college is either you're going to put up and play or you're not.
That's it.
At that level. And so, talking about your career, if you had to pinpoint, what was one of the most remarkable accomplishments that you've achieved in your career?
Um, I'd say I'd say one of my one of my most proud accomplishments, I guess, when people talk about my baseball, um, especially professional. I had 1 year in Clearwater where I won a Gold Glove, which basically goes out to the best defensive
Yep.
player at that position. But I was especially proud of this, this award because I mean, not to mention it was like amongst a lot of like really good players, but I made one error in 132 games, and that one error, I know.
That's a pretty good stat, man.
That's a good stat. And the one error was in judgment. It could have not. They could have not given me the error. It was like
Okay.
it was a hot. So I could have had a perfect season with no errors, but
With
I
no
had
error.
one error in 132 games. So that was I would say one of my top achievements.
Okay, okay. Now, if you had to talk about one of your most, and I hate to say failure, always say challenge. What was something that was challenging to you that you faced in your career? What has been the biggest challenge?
I'd say people always thinking that, because you get labeled as a player and they think you can only do a certain amount. I'd say fighting out of those labels that the people put on you. And I would say, like, to other people listening is like, don't let people put labels on you, and don't let them put limitations on what you can be. And I think, that was probably the biggest thing I had to fight through.
Yeah, and I think a lot of players deal with that are currently in the league too,
Yeah.
as
Yeah.
well as 10 times when they're finished their career professionally, that, hey, that's what you did for the last 10, 12 years. So then, depending on whatever job or industry that they're going in, people put they put a label so they don't give them credit for what for what they have done, you
Yeah.
know? And
Yeah,
so
for sure.
that's very important. I'm glad that you brought that up. So while you were playing professionally, had it ever dawned on you that sorry about that. Looked like I had it just went tipped right over. You good?
You're good. You're good, bro.
Yeah. So my question was to you, while playing professionally, have you ever had a moment when you thought about what my life would be out of sports, like after sports? What is that? What would that transition look like?
So did it happen during or did it happen
During,
after? Or
during.
okay, during.
So while you're playing, have you ever thought about, what can my life be? What am I interested in doing after sports?
You know, it didn't dawn on me, and I wish I had thought about it earlier, to be honest with you. If I'd gone back and been like, hey, like I should have been smart. I should have been planning for like my next move if this doesn't work out. But I had you know, as I guess they say, put the eggs in the basket, or like I was so focused, like I was so convinced that I was just going to be a professional baseball player that there wasn't something else that I was going to do.
Correct, correct.
So while I was playing, I honestly didn't think I was doing anything else except for baseball.
Yeah. Do you think it's hard for guys to actually to put themselves in that mindset? Because I've interviewed multiple professional athletes from different and
Yeah,
former athletes from different sports, and the answers are kind of somewhat the same.
yeah,
When you're focused on plan A, it's hard to be
yeah,
start to think about what plan C is, and you still got time, and you still feel
yeah.
like you got a lot more to invest in the sport, that it's hard to kind of put yourself out of that element and start thinking about what life would be, outside of the game.
For sure. I mean, it's hard. It makes, from a business standpoint and from, a logical standpoint now that I can see it, and like, okay, that would have been smart if I had already been planning and using my platform to create myself, like to help create something else that I'd love to do. But I mean, the reality is when you're in that position, it's hard because it takes a lot of energy to be a professional athlete, and there's a lot of things that go into that. So it's hard to like balance that with the possible business that you'll be wanting to run in the future.
Yeah,
So I get it. I think that's why it's important for athletes to like have a team around them and have people that they can trust and that will kind of help them do those things so that they don't have to do it all, and maybe they can just do a little bit just
yeah,
to get themselves getting closer to when the career is over, and they don't have to focus so much on it. But I think there is a healthy balance there to like, you know, I wouldn't say the way I did it is the way everybody should do it, but I think a lot of athletes do. I think there is a healthy balance of like, focusing on your career at the moment, but also thinking about what's in the future.
Yeah, no, and I agree with you. I just think sometimes, like you said, that circle, who's
Yeah.
working with you in that circle, because at that time you're dealing with whatever injuries you had pre that season that just happened. Did you have a good year? All those
Yep.
different things that plays into effect. But I think it's having a conglomerate, having a team around you and that support that can be able to help you build, what that portfolio is going to look like after you're finished playing. And so
Yep.
the motto of our show, we always talk about when one career ends, a whole new set of opportunities begin. And so as a professional
Yep.
athlete, like, Carlos, you never know when you may get that season ending injury, or you never know when, hey, your stock is not as high as it used to be. And so now you need to be starting to think about what that exit strategy. Some people don't get a chance to plan the exit strategy for that new career.
Yep.
Yeah, so it happens so abruptly. So, talking about, post career, describe what you've learned about yourself throughout your entire journey and where you are today.
Um, I think the biggest thing I learned through my journey is that, I'm definitely willing to work, so hard to like know I'm doing something I love to do. I know, doesn't matter the time, how long it takes, or like how many hours it takes. I'm willing to put in a ton of work, and I also found that, you know, along the way that I've learned how to work, not necessarily, it's not always about working the hardest, but it's also working smart too.
Mark,
So
yeah.
I think those are a couple lessons that I feel like I've learned along the way.
Yeah. Okay. Now let's talk about you being a personal trainer, aka squat doctor, man.
Yeah, yeah.
Look, man. I love when you post the videos. You're on the beach, for a lot of beach, and you're really into it. And I I love. I think what I really fall in love with the aspect of like players like yourself as well. Take the same energy that you've used when you were a professional athlete, and then put it into a craft that you're interested in, that motivates you to help and inspire
Yeah,
others.
yeah.
And I think that is really like a gift. But let's talk about it, man. The reason that you got into personal training and why you feel like that is something that you enjoy, or the purpose behind it as well.
Yeah, I mean, I got into it because it's kind of like you said, I had a little bit of a season and, an injury that led me to kind of cut my career a little short. And when I was rehabbing my knee, I really dove into like how my knee was working and how do I best get back on my feet, because you feel so, you know, at the mercy of like, your physical therapist or your surgeon or like your strength coach. And I
Yeah.
really wanted to know why. Like I wanted to understand my body more. Being an athlete, I've always have been in control of my body.
Uh,
And when I lost that control, it really forced me to dive into this. And you know, after baseball was over, I had all this knowledge, and I had been around great strength coaches already, and I'd always been a workout, gym junkie, and I just felt like I had so much to give other people, because I know other people like, deal with back pain or deal with knee pain and deal with all kinds of pain, and a lot of times it's just because they don't know how to move properly,
yeah.
and or how to just like, do the necessary, you know mobilization activation techniques that could possibly like unlock their hip, that can help them free up their back, or change their posture, all those things. I feel like it's why I got into personal training. It's not necessarily just to like get them six pack abs, or
Yeah.
get them a big chest. It's kind of just to like help people be pain free and healthy.
Yeah. And that's important because as you age, your body doesn't work the same way anymore. I'm attest to that because obviously I tore my Achilles not too
Oh
long ago.
man,
So,
yeah, I
you
know,
know,
man.
so dealing with an injury, man, this is my first time going through this type of injury. So when you're saying about just learning to, either, learn to walk, learn to really work out correctly, proper, technique is important. And
Huge.
so, huge, huge. So talking about that, when you take a look at, your life and you say, what does legacy mean to you? If I had to ask you that question, what is legacy to you?
think legacy is basically what people remember and what will say about you, you know, when you're not around.
Yeah.
And that's, I I don't, to be honest, I don't think about, my legacy a lot,
Yeah.
but I also do believe in doing things for the right reason, and I do think that when you find something, when you have pure intentions, like I feel like that's when you're truly happy.
Yeah,
So,
that word that you just used is so important. Pure intentions. And then
yeah.
my follow up question to legacy is, how are you building legacy for your family? If you're,
Yeah.
I know you say you don't really think about it that much,
Yeah.
but you said it, pure intention. If you have pure
Yeah.
intentions, you want to make sure you're doing things the right way. That's what more of a legacy that you would want to leave.
Exactly. I mean, I just believe that if you go about doing what you do the right way, and like you're not, you're thinking about others, and you're not just thinking about yourself. Um, and I think that's why I've done well as a personal trainer, because I think when people walk through the door, they just like, they genuinely can not only like what I'm saying and having them do, they can feel that I like, once they walk in the door, like I'm gonna take care of them. Like I feel like I'm gonna heal them. Like it's like they can feel it. So
But that's like you go back to what you said. That's a pure intention. Like they can feel. People know. And I was listening to this YouTube the other day. It was Dr. Miles Monroe, and he was talking about people, when you're passionate about something, people want to know that you're authentic about what you're saying and what
yeah,
you're passionate about. So they're going to check you. They're going to make sure that this is
for
something that
sure.
you're
Yeah,
passionate about, because you could tell if somebody's authentic about something,
for
or they
sure.
just doing it for either a check
Yeah,
or for clout.
yeah,
And so
yeah,
when your clients come in and they see that they're working with you, they know one of the two. Hey, Carlos is pure intention. His intention is good. So I feel like I'm about to be better, because obviously the aura that he presents in the gym.
yeah.
So I
Exactly.
think I think that's truly important. You know, my next question is talking about reinvent. That's what our theme is for tonight. Talk about
Yeah,
reinventing yourself. So
yeah.
before I ask you about the advice that you would give to other players, my question to you is, how were you able to reinvent yourself after baseball?
You know, I the first thing I did was, I moved over to Fort Lauderdale with my brother, and my first intention was, my first feeling was, how can I help him? How can I help his career? um, which led me down a path of like, marketing for him and helping, and I developed a lot of good relationships from it.
Yeah,
But at the end of the day, it kind of had its end, because I was doing something for him, but I didn't necessarily believe in it for me. So I had to start thinking about like, what's best for me and what do I want to be doing? And I do love helping other people, but it has to be, you know, it has to kind of, there's this like funny, like, it has to be like something that's for other people, but it's also for you too.
absolutely. Yeah, because if you don't get enjoyment and fulfillment in doing that, then the
Exactly.
reasons, it just becomes doing it for somebody else. You're not happy.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. So I found myself in a funny situation, and I said, look, okay, let's do something that I would really enjoy, or just do something for a couple hours, see if I'm gonna like it. And I started doing some personal training at an LA Fitness, and I was like, man, this is kind of fun. Like I like this. I can get used to this. And little by little, I took a couple more hours, and I was like, okay, this is it. I got to do this. This is
Yeah.
like, and I went and got a real estate license, but really my focus has been for the past like 4 years now has been personal training and just helping people achieve, whatever goals they're trying to reach, and, trying to make people feel better, whether it's with squats or stretching or whatever it is with their health. That's kind of what I'm dedicated to. So,
That's what's up. That's what's up. I know. I remember when you would post, that you would have sessions on the beach, man. And I was like,
yeah,
I got to get out there. I got to get out there. But I know with COVID and all that type of stuff now, it made things a
yeah,
little bit different. But
yeah.
tell me about when you were doing when you were doing classes or boot camps on the beach, man. How what was your reception from people who were coming to that?
Yeah, people loved it. People loved it, and we'll do it again. I was doing one Saturday a month, and
Okay.
we'd go to Fort Lauderdale Beach, or we'd go to the new park on Las Olas. And, you know, I would just bring kettlebells out, bring some music, and it would be just an open workout. And we would just, you know, just have some fun. Like, just try to give people a little bit of like give them a little taste of what I do. And then
Yeah.
also just get a good workout on a Saturday.
Yeah.
So it was good.
No, absolutely. So what would be, you all right?
Yep.
You
All
okay?
good.
Man, it's like my phone just keeps falling tonight. I don't know why. But my other question to you is talking about reinventing yourself, what advice would you give to professional athletes who are they're in a you know, I would say gray area, but they're thinking about reinventing themselves, either if they're currently playing or they're retired, and they're thinking about reinventing themselves. What advice would you give to them?
You know, I would say don't feel rushed and take your time and just kind of follow like something that you think you may enjoy, but don't like, you know, if it's not the right thing on the first one, it's okay. You know, go to the next one. You know, that's kind of what life's about. Like you know, you try things out and you know, just let your heart kind of lead you the way and try things and don't and remember that you're not going to be, you know, you're not going to be forever trapped in doing something if you don't end up wanting to do it. You can always back out of it. So um I think I would say just kind of follow something that piques your interest. It may not like it's hard when people say like find something like that's your true love or like
And
find something that's like your true calling. Like, you know, it's hard when you thought football or baseball or whatever was your
your
true
entire
calling and all of a
life.
sudden it's like it
Yeah.
was your entire life. So just find something that piques your interest, try it out, and then if it's not you, it's not for you, go to the next one. So
Yeah.
don't try to stress yourself out too much about it.
Yeah, no, I agree. I agree. So normally on this show, we this is my last question for you. We normally do this
Okay.
on this show. We try to make sure we keep the ball moving with other athletes, currently, professionally, people in the sports industry that we should go out and interview. So if you
Okay.
can nominate three people to tell their stories about their journey as a professional athlete or a professional or industry professional on our podcast, who would you like to nominate? So you can give me three names, and then with your with your help, that I could be able to get them on the show.
Yeah. Let's see. I gotta think of some of my baseball buddies who so there's one that comes to mind, Nick Ferdinand, who's a good buddy of mine, and he's actually doing something very similar to me. He's
Okay.
training people out of his garage,
Okay.
up in Pennsylvania. He's a great guy. I have I have a guy named Mario Hollins who's a pitcher, played in the major leagues with the Phillies, big lefty. He's in fashion in San Francisco.
Okay.
And the third one, who else could I nominate? I'd nominate Matt Soren because he was on this. I saw him tune in here. Matt Soren, he's a pitcher. He went to college with me, also played professionally with the Phillies, and he's in New York, and I believe I think he's an agent. I think
Okay.
he's an agent for players.
Okay. That's what's up. I'm gonna get the information from you, man, so I can
I
reach
will.
out to them.
All
This is
right,
a way.
cool.
This is a way how we are able to keep the show going, and you're my second MLB player that I've got on the podcast here. The
Oh,
first
okay.
one was Cliff Floyd.
Oh,
So you
okay,
know
okay.
Cliff.
Yeah, I know Cliff.
So yeah, no. So I mean, I just think it's just great getting players from different industries who can be able to share their perspective on their career, so that we could be able to help the younger generation and help other people who would like to get a little bit more information on who you are, what you're doing, and how that transition in your life was able to to help you get to where you are now.
Yeah, for sure, for sure.
Yeah, man. So I appreciate you taking the time on this Friday night, man, to get on
All
here
right,
and speak to us, man. I really appreciate it.
absolutely, man. You know, anytime. Thank you for having me. It's always a pleasure talking with you. Yeah, have a great Friday night.
Man, absolutely, man. I appreciate it. Thank you for taking the time. We'll connect, man. I got to get your brother on here, man, when he get a
Yeah,
chance. I know he's in
yeah,
free agency right now, but
yeah,
whenever you
for
get a
sure.
chance, man, get him on here as well. But thank you again. This is Life After Sports with your host, Kevin Johnson, here with our special guest, Carlos Alonso. And I just want to say thank you again and have a good night, my brother.
Thank you, man. Have a good night. Good night, everybody.
All right. Take care.